I'm the Scrub and you're here for one reason. So what did you say your name was? 2B. Or not 2B? Okay, I'll stop. Any plans to take care of 2P and the androids, or just punch things really hard? You know, I have a feeling that I'm going to be able to perform this plan pretty easily. Time to learn about the Puppets Bunker. Simplified. Walk along the structures and stand on the square at the end of the path to take a pod to the next path. At the end of that path, you can stand on the next square to be taken to the first boss. Everyone will need to split into each of their alliances. Alliance A will rotate to the left, and Alliance C will rotate to the right. Alliance B will land in the arena and not have to move due to them getting the house and the divorce settlement. Also watch out, as this platform doesn't have any walls on the outside, so you can easily fall off. The Aegis unit will target all three alliances with the same mechanics and will auto-attack the tanks in each alliance. The cast of Firing Order Anti-Personnel Laser will give every tank a tank buster. This will cleave in a small point-blank AoE, so you'll need to spread out and everyone else shouldn't stand with the tank. The cast of Maneuver Beam Cannons will create 5 AoEs that will overlap substantially. These AoEs will begin to narrow and the overlaps will get progressively smaller. You'll need to pay attention to which of the AoEs will be creating gaps between the AoEs as they get more and more narrow. 3 out of the 5 overlaps will now be safe zones from the narrowing AoEs, and those 2 that are not safe will not be next to each other. You'll need to locate and stand in these small wedges of safety, as when the cast is just about to end, the AoEs will stop getting narrower and turn from yellow to orange. They will then fire a moment after they change colour. If you don't make it into a safe wedge in time, you'll get a small knockback and a Volt stack. The cast of Maneuver Collider Cannons will create 5 AoEs with a safe spot between each one. These will spin around the platform as the unit lowers towards the arena. As it lowers, the AoEs will begin to slow down. When everything stops spinning, the AoEs will fire. If you get caught in these, you'll get a Volt stack and a knockback. The trick to this one is to try and follow the AoEs in the direction that they are travelling as they slow down. You'll be able to locate the safe zone and try and stay with it instead of having to quickly move as they stop. The cast of Firing Order Surface Laser will give one player in each alliance a red marker over their head. This player will need to move away from the rest of the alliance, as after a few moments they will have a persistently hitting AoE put at their location. This means that this player will get hit a few times before they move away from the AoE. As this is going on, the cast of Aerial Support Swoop will have 3 untargetable ads appear around the arena. They will target one of the players in either party to the left or right of their location with a blue straight line AoE. If you get hit by this blue AoE, it will be a knockback and a Volt stack. The unit will turn its wings in a particular direction and cast Maneuver Refraction Cannons, which will reveal cannons in one of 2 spots in front of the party. One side will be safe and the other side will be in the path of the cannon. Just look up to see which side will have the cannon and which side will be safe. Getting hit by the cannon will give you a Volt stack. The beam cannons will repeat, which is followed by Maneuver Diffusion Cannon, which is a room-wide AoE. Aerial Support Bombardment will summon 3 ads, 1 to each alliance. They will all start to cast Maneuver Saturation Bombing, which will hit everyone in the alliance with a hard room-wide if it finishes casting. Target these and destroy them as fast as possible. While you are destroying the ads, Surface Laser will happen to one random party member, which is followed by Firing Order High-Powered Laser. This will put a stack marker on a random party member. Group up to share the damage. These will give your magic vulnerability up, so you cannot group up these stack markers, or else you'll erase an entire party from existence. After you defeat the ads, the unit will begin to rise up and hover in place as it runs the program Life's Last Song. Glowing rings will begin to expand from the unit. These will be broken in 3 areas. These broken areas will be the only safe zones for the alliance, as the rest of the arena will be hit with an AoE, which will give you a Volt stack if you get hit by it. These will happen 3 times back to back, so dodge between the safe zones as best you can. Following this is Refraction Cannons with the swooping ads. After this, the following mechanics will happen. The Surface Laser with beam cannons, then another Life's Last Song, which will be 5 back-to-back broken rings, then it will be swooping ads with refraction cannons, then it's tank busters with collider cannons, then it's the diffusion cannon room-wide AoE. These will repeat until the unit has been defeated. Head out of the boss room and follow the path down the structure until you come to a point where you need to jump down into the next arena. There will be many mobs that you'll need to take care of. Tanks can grab all of the mobs and group them together as best they can. The cast of Long-Barreled Laser is a straight line AoE through one random player. Just dodge to the side to avoid it. When the light artillery units start casting Maneuver Volt Array, a tank or ranged DPS will need to interrupt this cast of all 3 larger ads. Even if one of them finishes the cast, it'll be a room-wide AoE and give everyone in the alliance an Assumerable Paralysis debuff. The light units will also cast Authority No Restrictions. This will create AoEs underneath random players, as well as putting point-blank AoEs on more random players. When they go off, both of these AoEs will create lingering flame AoEs on the ground that will give you an Assumerable 30-second burns debuff. When everything has been defeated, the platform below you will explode and disintegrate. As you fall, you'll grab a pod and be flown to safety. Everyone will head up the ramp and stand on the square to take you to the next arena. Everyone will automatically be sorted into their alliances to fight the superior flight units. When the units are pulled, they will all cast Apply Shield Protocol, which will give everyone a debuff of either A, B, or C according to their alliance. As long as all 3 units are alive, you can only damage the letter of the unit that corresponds with your debuff. A for Alpha, B for Beta, and C for Chihuahua. Tanks will need to stand either directly towards the outside in the corner of their arena, or stand in towards the the middle of the arena. I recommend the tanks stand in the middle of the arena because of specific mechanics. Maneuver Missile Command is a room-wide AoE for every flight unit that's still alive. So in the beginning, this will be 3 back-to-back room-wides. Maneuver Incendiary Bombing will put a red marker over the heads of 2 players in each alliance. These players will need to get away from the rest of the party as they will drop a medium-sized AoE where they are standing when the cast ends. This will linger as a medium-sized flaming AoE that will give you a harsh burns debuff for as long as you're in it. As these are going off, one person in each alliance will get a stack marker with the flight units casting a high-powered laser. I'd advise that everyone group up with a stack marker pointing towards the outside of the arena. This is because the stack marker will give everyone a magic vulnerability up debuff for 5 seconds. If you end up pointing the stack marker towards another alliance, you will instantly kill everyone in that alliance. We're in an alliance raid, not in PvP Frontlines Roulette. So this is why we point the stack towards the outside and away from other alliances. All 3 units will cast Formation Sharp Turn. All of the units will move to the middle of their smaller circles in their part of the arena. All 3 will tether to each other in a triangle formation and turn to face each other either in a clockwise or anti-clockwise direction. All 3 units will have a blade extend from either their left or right side. If the blade is pointing towards the outside in the direction they are traveling, they will all cleave the outside of the arena in a straight line AoE, which will mean that the triangle portion on the inside of the arena will be safe. And if the blade is pointing to the inside of the arena in the direction they are traveling, the blades will cleave through the entire middle area of the arena, and there will be a small triangular safe spot wedged in each of the 3 corners of the arena. If you fail to get into this safe spot, it will be a hard hit which could potentially one-shot you if you get hit by 2 of them. Maneuver Precision Guided Missile is a tank buster. This is a small circular AoE cleave, so don't stand with the tank. Formation Air Raid will have all of the units move towards the middle of the arena and all have an Exaflare fire from their corner of the arena. All Exaflares from the units will travel in the same direction, either clockwise or anti-clockwise, around the outside of the arena. As they start going off, the units will cast Lethal Revolution, which is a point-blank AoE around themselves. To avoid everything, you'll need to position yourself to the side of the first Exaflare so it's traveling away from you. Then move into where its explosions go off as it travels along the path to avoid the other set of Exaflare explosions coming towards you from the other alliance. Getting hit by the Exaflare explosions will give you a 15-second unincinerable burns debuff, and getting hit by the Lethal Revolution AoE will give you a Vuln stack. All 3 units will then cast Formation Sliding Swipe. They will become untargetable and dash to the outside on one of the corners in the arena. The 2 other areas will have a large AoE in their place, which will create lingering flaming AoEs that will give you a burns debuff for as long as you stand in them. So the only safe zone is close to where the units are. All 3 units will extend a blade on either their left or right side and start casting Sliding Swipe. You'll need to pay attention to the order of the blades and which side they are extended. At the end of each cast, one by one, the units will fire themselves across the arena and cleave that side that their blade is extended on. You just need to be on the opposite side to each of the blades as they dash past. If you get caught in one of these blades, it will give you a very hard hit and a Vuln stack. It can have the potential to instantly one-shot you, so make sure that you dodge between the blades as best you can. After the 3rd flight unit has dashed past, the arena will return to normal and the units will fly back to their designated spots in the arena. The next time Incendiary Bombing goes off, there will be AoEs underneath random party members and a tracking AoE below one random party member. You'll just need to dodge the AoEs as best you can. There will also be times when players will get a point-blank AoE, so you'll need to spread these out as well. Mechanics will begin to overlap and repeat from here. When one flight unit has been defeated, the other 2 will lose their shield protocol letter so all alliances can help out and everyone can attack each other's flight unit. There will also be star AoEs which will be placed underneath the feet of random players with a cast of Maneuver High Order Explosive Blast. These will throw out narrow but short straight line AoEs from the center of where they are located. Just try and avoid this as best you can. Defeat all of the flight units as fast as possible. Head down the elevator and slide down the next 2 corridors and turn left at the access point. As you jump into the next area, you'll be greeted by an extending ramp that will take you to the next area. After a short period of time, the heavy artillery unit will become targetable. Maneuver Volt Array is a room-wide AoE. The unit will tether to the middle section of the arena and cast Operation Activate Laser Turret. This will create sets of lasers either on the floor or just above the floor in an alternate sequence around the circle of bots in the middle of the arena. If the lasers are on the floor, these will be a sustained conal AoE in the area in front of the bots that will quickly damage you for every tick that you're inside them. If the lasers are above the floor, these will be a conal AoE that will fire in stages up the conal AoE. The trick here is to hug the wall in a section where the lasers are above the floor. You can wait for the conal AoE from the lasers on the floor to dissipate, which should be just after the second stage of the AoE starts firing, and move into this now safe section before the last stage of the AoE goes off. Maneuver High Powered Laser will put straight line cleaving tank busters on 2 of the 3 tanks in the alliance. These tanks will need to spread out and not run these through the rest of the alliance. And everyone else should definitely not stand behind or near these tanks, as it can make your health bar take an immediate vacation to Timbuktu. Maneuver Unconventional Voltage will put red markers on random alliance members. These marked players will get conal AoEs through the middle of their position. These players will need to spread out and avoid overlapping these AoEs. Everyone else should try and move away from these AoEs as best they can. There will be plenty of safe zones to avoid these even if everyone spreads out. The cast of Energy Bombardment will put 5 AoEs below random alliance members. This will happen 3 different times back to back. Dodge out of these AoEs as best you can. Getting hit by any of these AoEs will give you a Vuln stack. As the third lot of AoEs are created, the unit will cast Maneuver Imp Impact Crusher. This will create 3 medium-sized AoEs around the arena. You'll need to keep an eye on where the third AoE spawns in. The unit will jump to all 3 circles in the order that they spawned in. Getting hit by any of these AoEs will instantly kill you. When the unit lands on the third AoE, it will create an arena-sized donut AoE with the cast of Maneuver Revolving Laser. Quickly get close to the boss to avoid the AoE, which will give you a Vuln stack if you get hit by it. After another room wide, the unit will tether to the bots in the middle of the room and cast Operation Access Self-Consciousness Data, and then cast Operation Activate Suppressive Unit. This will create a row of bots that will circle the arena. The bots will fire orbs that will travel in a straight line from the outside of the arena to the middle of the arena. If you get hit by any of them, you'll get a Vuln stack. Dodge around the orbs as best you can. I'll tell you my personal trick to avoid the orbs. Go to a point on the wall between 2 sections in the arena. Look down at the narrow rectangular tiles. In either direction from the edge of the section, count 5 tiles. You can stand on the line between the 5th and 6th tile, or on the 6th tile, and you'll dodge every single orb. The orbs have a set point that they will always fire from, and this area is directly between both points where orbs will spawn in. After the orbs are finished firing, there will be a room-wide AoE. The unit will cast Support Pod, and several pods will spawn around the arena. It will then tether to the middle of the arena and cast Operation Pod Program, which will create giant screens behind the pods. You'll need to pay attention to what is displayed on the screens. If the screens all say R010 on each side and have an icon with 3 lines in the middle of it, these will be a straight line AoE through the middle of the arena. If the screens all say R030 on each side and have an icon of a radiating circle on top of 2 boxes, these will cause a large circular AoE where the pods are, so you'll need to navigate your way between the pods to dodge each of these mechanics. Right after this, the unit will tether to the middle of the arena again and cast Operation Synthesize Compound. This will put several small circles around the arena that will have screens on the outside tethered to the circles and start counting down from 15. The circles will all be yellow. On the screens, there will be 5 bars with several or all of them lit up. Each person that stands in a circle will make a bar on the screen that it's tethered to turn off. When all 5 bars on a screen are darkened, the circle will turn from yellow to blue. This indicates that the circle has enough people standing inside it. Every circle in the arena will need to be blue. If a circle is still yellow when the countdown finishes, it will explode and give everyone in the alliance a Vuln stack. If enough circles are still yellow, it has the potential to wipe the alliance. Mechanics will start to repeat from here. The next pod program mechanic will combine the largest circular AoEs and the straight line AoEs from the pods. You'll need to pay attention not only to what the pods are firing, but also which screens the pods are tethered to. You'll need to find which of the 2 adjacent screens have the 3-line icon with R010 on them. Between these 2 pods will be the safe zone. Everyone will need to move between these 2 pods to avoid the Vuln stacks. The second cast of this will have the screens tethered to a pod on either its immediate left or right. This will always be a tether to 1 pod away, and all the screens will be tethered in the same direction, so you'll need to adjust your safe zone 1 spot in the same direction as the tethers to the pods. Mechanics will continue to repeat and overlap until the unit has been defeated. Wait for the arena to drop down and exit over the next bridge. As the door to the next corridor opens, 5 enemies will be stationary at the end. The back 3 will each have a laser in front of them, which will create a straight line AoE down the corridor. The front 2 will target people with scoped crosshairs. The targeted people will have a laser attached to them. After a few seconds, the lasers will stop following the players and create a straight line AoE where the lasers are. If you get targeted by one of these lasers, just try and point them away from the rest of the party as best you can. If you get hit by any of the straight line AoEs, you'll get a Vuln stack. If you stand in the lingering electric AoE at the end of the arena, you'll get an electrocution debuff for as long as you're standing in it. Destroy the 5 enemies to continue up the corridor. As the next door opens, there will be 3 enemies that will, again, throw out straight line AoEs with the lasers. There will also be danger orbs that will travel down the corridor. You'll need to dodge these as best you can. The orbs will give you a Vuln stack if you get hit by them. Defeat the 3 enemies at the end of the path to continue up the corridor. The next set of enemies will be the same as the previous set of enemies, but it will have 2 sets of 3 barricades. You won't be able to progress down the path until all 3 barricades have been destroyed. When you get past the first set of barricades, there will also be orbs that will travel across the corridor. You'll need to avoid these as you're destroying the second set of barricades. Destroy the 3 enemies at the end of the path to continue up the corridor. When the next door opens, travel up the stairs, and its final boss what the f*** is that? The outside of the arena will be coated in a lingering electric AoE that will give you an electrocution debuff for 10 seconds if you run through it or get knocked into it. Mechanical Laceration is a room-wide AoE. The compound will face a random player and cast Mechanical Dissection. It will have a laser going straight through it as it flips. When the cast ends, the compound will have a straight line AoE through its position in the direction that it's flipping. Getting hit by this will give you a hard hit and a Vuln stack. Mechanical Decapitation will have the compound open from the middle and create several lasers from this point. These lasers will form a circle and move in close to its hitbox. This will be a donut AoE, and the safe spot for this zone is inside the lasers just before they go off. If you don't manage to get to the hitbox in time, it will give you a Vuln stack. Mechanical Contusion will create AoEs underneath random players. You'll just need to dodge away from these to avoid them. If you get hit by them, you'll get a magic vulnerability up debuff for 3 seconds. If you get hit by 2 that overlap, you'll instantly die. Just before these go off, 2 party members in each alliance will get AoEs around them. These will also give a magic vulnerability up, so unless you want to nuke yourself, don't overlap these. The compound will rise up from the arena and become untargetable. There will be 2 of them that will reappear on points on the north and east walls of the the arena. They will open up to create a gap between their two halves and then have a laser covering the rest of their sides of the arena. You'll need to position yourself in between the openings of the spheres as they will race across the arena in a straight line. If you get hit by either of these lasered areas, you'll get a hard hit and a Von stack. As the compound returns to the arena, it will become targetable again. These mechanics will repeat until you defeat the compound. When you get it down to 0.1% health, it will rise up from the arena and become untargetable. It will hit everyone with a mechanical laceration and cause everyone to be down for the count, and a cutscene will play. The androids will create a bigger version of 2P, which somehow looks creepier. Centrifugal Slice is a room-wide AoE. Relentless Spiral will target 2 random people with a medium-sized AoE at their feet. This will be a tracking AoE for 2 additional hits for wherever this player moves. You'll need to get out of the AoEs to avoid the Von stacks that these will give out if you get hit by them. 2P will crouch down with her sword in the air and cast Prime Blade. This particular cast is a large point-blank AoE around 2P, so you'll need to get far away from her before the cast ends to avoid the hit. It will give you a Von stack if you don't get out far enough. 2P will then turn to a random alliance member and hold her sword behind her head and cast another Prime Blade. This particular cast is a straight line AoE in the direction that she is facing. Just move to the side if she turns to face you before the cast ends. Getting hit by this will also give you a Von stack. 2P will then hold her sword with one hand and jam it into the ground with another cast of Prime Blade. This cast will also have a circular wave of light around her. This will be an arena-wide donut AoE from her position, and you'll need to get inside the circle of light to dodge this. Get into the hitbox before the cast ends, or you'll end up with another Von stack. 2P will then move into the middle of the room and cast one of the Prime Blades with 2 extra lines of light leading to 2 separate glowing circles. You'll need to follow the pulsing line of light to the glowing circle that it is connected to, as this will be where 2P will teleport to with her move. So in this example, if she is doing her donut AoE, you'll need to stand on the circle that has the pulse going towards it to avoid the AoE hit. The incorrect circle will also have an AoE hit on its position, so it's important that you make it to the correct circle. After another AoE, 2P will cast the move 3 Parts Disdain and give one random player a stack marker. This will be a triple hit stack marker that will also give a small knockback to all players who get hit by it. I'd recommend standing with the stack marker towards the open area of the arena, as if you are close to the wall, you could get knocked into the wall with these hits. Knockback Community does work for this mechanic, but I wouldn't recommend it. 2P will then cast Compound Pod R012. This will put a tank buster on each of the tanks in the alliance, as well as random AoEs underneath random party members and point blank AoEs on 2 random party members in each alliance, just like Mechanical Contusion from Phase 1. Everyone will need to spread out as best they can, and don't overlap these, as these will still give a magic vuln up if you get hit by 1, so getting hit by 2 spells disaster for you. 2P will then cast 4 Parts Resolve and tether to 4 random people in the alliance with dots above these players' heads indicating the order that they have been tethered. These 4 people will need to spread out as much as possible for what comes next. 2P will jump to the player who has the 1 dot above their head and give them a small AoE cleaving hit. 2P will then turn to the player who has the 2 dots above their head and perform a straight line cleaving AoE through where this player is standing. 2P will then repeat the same for the 3rd and 4th dotted players, jumping to 3 and cleaving through 4. Everyone else will need to avoid where these players are standing as best they can. This is why players will need to spread out as much as possible to avoid dealing out any unnecessary damage. 2P will then move into the middle of the room and cast Reproduce. This will create dark clones of itself on the 4 corners of the arena. It will then cast a Prime Blade mechanic and tether itself to all 4 clones on the outside. In this example, it will perform the donut AoE mechanic, so everyone will need to get all the way to the corners on the outside, as all 4 clones will also perform a donut AoE. If you fail to make it to one of the safe corners for this particular mechanic, you'll get hit by 4 AoEs and almost certainly instantly die. I do like to follow the main tank wherever they decide to go, as I can always stay in melee range. If I am the main tank in this fight, I always like to go northwest. 2P will then move back into the middle of the room and cast Energy Compression. This will put 6 meteor circles around the sides of the arena. When you stand in one, the circle will change to having a pattern in the middle of it to show that someone is standing in it. All 6 circles will need to have at least one person standing in each circle to soak the damage. If a circle is missed, it will explode, and everyone in the alliance will get a Von stack. There will then be 6 more circles around the outside of the arena, but one of the meteor circles on each side will have 2 lines of light extending from it to glowing circles around the arena. Again, you'll have to see which one has the pulse going towards it, as this will be where the circle will be transferring to. 2P will then cast Compound Pod R011. This will put 3 pods on the west and 3 pods on the north side of the arena. These will all fire straight line AoEs through their position on the arena. However, 2 of the pods, one on the north and one on the west, will be teleported to one spot on the east and south respectively. This might be a little hard to read, so I'll try and explain it as best I can. First, locate which of the areas around the arena is the current safe zone. It will be the only square that won't have a pod on the west and north sides of the arena. Then, watch for where the pod on the west side of the arena is being transferred to on the south. If it is not in your lane, then you're okay. If it is in your lane, then move to the column of the pod on the north side of the arena that is being transferred away, as this is the new safe zone. Then you'll need to see where the north side pod is being transferred to. If it's again not in your lane, you're all good to stand still. If it is in your lane, you'll just need to move to the row of the pod on the west side of the arena that is being transferred away, as this is the new safe zone. It sounds a little complicated, but it's quite easy once you get the hang of it. As an example, here is one where the safe spot is in the first row and the second column. The pod on the third row in the west is teleporting to the first column in the south, and the pod on the third column in the north is teleporting to the fourth row in the east. So this just means that the first and third rows will be safe and the second and third columns will be safe. There will be numerous different patterns around the arena, so just try your best and avoid the straight line AoEs. Following this is a relentless spiral, then one of the casts of Prime Blade along with the lines of light to the glowing circles. Just dodge for the appropriate Prime Blade for whichever one she does. There will also be another Prime Blade cast with the dark clones, but these will also have the lines of light to the glowing circles. Again, you'll need to locate which one has the pulse leading towards it, as this one will be where the clone is moving to for the mechanic. From here, mechanics will begin to repeat until 2P has been defeated. Congratulations, you have completed the Puppet's Bunker. My name is The Scrub. Thank you for watching.